For survivors, until we meet again 13, thanks you for your bravery. Welcome to part 2 of Until We Meet Again 13's Survivor Series, surviving the loss of a loved one, someone that cannot be replaced. I lost my brother. He was my only brother. He was my only sibling. It was just me and him in this world. We were the only people that grew up the way we grew up, and I lost him 3 months ago, almost to the day. It's been a very, very tough road, and making this video was not something I wanted to do until I could put a little objectivity into it. I talked about that in detail in part 1. You'll find a link for that video right there. There will be links in the bio of this video for part 1 of this series, and then there will be links for 2 other 2-part Survivor Series videos. Part 1 and part 2 of surviving prison, and part 1 and part 2 of surviving crystal meth addiction. That is what I've done so far with my Survivor Series. There's going to be others, so please hit the subscribe button right there. And along with hitting the subscribe button, take an extra second and hit the notification button. I'm asking for 4 seconds of your life and 2 little clicks. What that will do is it will get you plugged into this community. It will get you plugged in to my community, and it will get you notifications on your phone, mobile device, whatever you're using to watch this when something new comes out. I have a ton of ideas for this channel. This is a really new channel. I've only been at this for a couple weeks, and I've got a million ideas that I want to make come to life. And if you hit the notification button, you can be a part of it. Considering it like a coming soon, coming attractions, whatever you want to call it. But be involved, get involved, be a part of this community. In other housekeeping, please find Until We Meet Again 13 on Instagram. Instagram is the center of our community. There are, give or take, 2,200 followers so far, and I've done analytics on those followers, and the people following this channel are typically ranging in age from 12 to 28. It's a very young crowd. Bring it. Because what I'm doing is I'm taking DMs that I receive on Instagram, and I receive a lot. I receive 15 to 20 DMs a day from kids all around the world suffering, because that's what this is about. This is about recovery. This is about healing together. This is about being a community of people that are struggling with mental health issues. If you are not aware of the statistics, 1 in 4 people in the world suffer from mental health issues. 1 in 4. 1 in 4. 25% of the population of this world is struggling with the mental health issue. That can range in severity from what my brother had. He was bipolar schizophrenic. It could range from anxiety. It could range from general depression. It could range from an eating disorder. It could range from a PTSD, from an experience, any number of experiences. It can be something that happened in your life, a narcissistic relationship, emotional abuse, physical abuse. Personally, I suffered emotional and physical abuse. I was abused as a young person, 10 years old. That is when I suffered sexual abuse. I hope to make a video about surviving sexual abuse eventually. That is a very tough topic to talk about, but I want to do it. I want to put it out there. So look for that. If you hit the notification right there, hit subscribe, hit notify, get involved, get plugged in, and what that'll do is, like I said, it'll get you some notifications when that's coming. There's going to be some videos coming up about surviving self-harming. I know there's going to be one about surviving sexual abuse. I know that I'm going to do one on surviving bullying. These are things that everyone that I talk to on Until We Meet Again 13, these are the issues that I pull from the DMs. So many kids are suffering from cyberbullying and from bullying at the hands of kids at their school or at their university or at their college or wherever they are. just in their life in general. And I have experienced that. I got through it. I made it to the other side and I survived it. And you can too if you let me help. I'm an activist and I'm an advocate and I fight for mental health issues. I fight for you and I fight for myself. I fight for people struggling. That is what I do. That is my passion. That is my life. That is my work. That is what I love about being a human being. I get a chance to talk to people about their problems and to help them get through that. That is something that I am very incredibly grateful for, and I'm grateful for the chance that I've gotten to do this. I'm grateful for every single person that does hit the subscribe button, that does find me on Instagram, and that has enough courage to ask for help. That is my mantra. Ask for help. Do not fight alone. Do not sit in silence. Break the silence. Break the stigma. End the stigma. End the stigma. Get rid of the stigma around asking for help. You gotta ask for help when you need it. There's no reason to fight alone. There is no reason to keep going alone. It is an uphill battle if you do not have someone to talk to. I can give you the tools that you need to survive. I can help you. I cannot fix your problems. I do not claim to be a magician. I do not claim to be a wizard. I can give you the tools that you need to survive. I can give you the tools that you need to get through the issues that you're going through. I can give you the tools that you need to just make it to tomorrow, because that ultimately is what we are doing. We are making it one day at a time. We are building from the bottom. We are finding our rock bottom and building our foundation from that bottom. And one day at a time, we survive. One day at a time, we thrive. And if you are watching this video right here, right now, your survival rate for all the bad days, all the depression, all the not wanting to get out of bed, all the whatever that has caused you to feel so bad about yourself, your survival rate, if you made it to right now, is 100%. 100%. Be proud of that, because it takes a lot to survive. And that is the heart of this series. Surviving. This is my survival series. These are my survivor stories, and this is my survival story about surviving my brother's death, surviving my brother's suicide. So without further ado, I'm going to get into part 2. As I promised in part 1, I wanted to kind of talk to you about the circumstances that led up to my brother's passing and talk about the impact that it made upon my life. So that's going to be kind of my little outline for this. So as I stated, his wife had just moved out. She had bought a place, bought a house very close to where he lived. And, you know, they were kind of going back and forth, but they were dating other people. And that was a really difficult thing for my brother. The dating other people part is something that my brother could never really get around. He couldn't be okay with it, because the number one paranoia that resulted from his schizophrenia was his wife's faithfulness. And he just could not wrap his mind around her being faithful. That was a big part of my brother's manic behavior. Anytime that he spun out towards the end of his life, it usually revolved around him focusing in or honing in on his wife being unfaithful. And that is how his life ended up coming to a close. As I stated, they had separated, they had moved out, they had dated other people. His wife had met someone and was dating someone. She has every right to do that. When you separate and you end a marriage, you have every right to go out there and date. My brother, though, was a little sensitive. He was extra sensitive. What a normal man or what a normal woman or what a normal kid could go through when it comes to dealing with that level of heartbreak, my brother was not really capable of that. The small little things became very big little things to my brother. And he would call me at night sometimes, just crying his eyes out so much that I literally could not understand the words that were coming out of his mouth. And my brother and I had been a little estranged because I am a sober person. I do not believe in active use of drugs, and I wanted my brother to get clean, and everyone in my family knew I wanted my brother to get clean, and my brother knew I wanted him to get clean. So for him to turn to me, which he did do on several occasions in the last 6 months of his life, I received 10 plus phone calls with him just sobbing into the phone, crying hysterically, trying to figure out how to patch back his marriage. And you know, that's the thing about going through a breakup. When you go through a breakup, if you don't keep your perspective, everything gets glamorized. All the bad times go out the window and all the good times stay. And it's very easy for someone with a mental health issue to hone in on the positives and not the negatives. And that's what was going on with my brother. Their marriage had devolved to a point where it was nearly toxic. My brother had gotten to the point where he was overly aggressive with his wife. He was very loud and he yelled a lot. I think she probably even got scared of him at some point. I just know that my brother's reaction to things was he was very sad. He would pour himself out onto Facebook publicly, just disturbing everyone that he could, because people cared about my brother. People genuinely loved and cared about him. He was such a beautiful kid and he was a good soul. And people cared about him. So when he spewed all this hurt onto Facebook, people would reach out and just ask, hey, what's going on? What do you need? You know, what's wrong? Why are you doing this? Why are you putting all this out there? And you know, after a couple days of the manic and the mania, he would calm down, come back down to earth, and I guess he would reread his posts and he would end up deleting them and editing them. But the point is, he was putting it out there. He was suffering. He was going through a really tough time. Processing that breakup was an impossibility for my brother. He had lived his life in that marriage and he had built his entire reality around that. And that's what happens when you're super codependent, when you're in active addiction. It's very easy to get to the point where you're so codependent that your relationship is almost like a drug for you. And when you're in active addiction, you typically have an addictive personality, and it's very easy for you to get addicted to that relationship, toxic or not. And the level that they had degraded to, that kind of thing is not good for any relationship, and it's definitely not good for a relationship that has young kids. And so they split, and it was probably a good thing, and it probably should have ended at that, and my brother probably should have just tried his best to heal, leaned on his family, leaned on his loved ones, leaned on his friends, and tried to get better, and just left it alone and tried to really heal from that. But that's not what happened. They decided to rekindle their relationship. They got back together and they were working on things. And my brother was having a really hard time. I think this was the second or third time that they had done this, that they had gone back and forth, and were attempting to rekindle that fire that they had in the beginning. And every time my brother just could not let go of the man that his wife had dated while they were apart. She had dated someone fairly openly, and you know, like I said, she has every right to do that. That's her own prerogative. But you know, it was tough. It was really tough for my brother, and he could not let that go, and he could not forgive that. So all the work they would do, all the promising each other that they would start over, all the clean slates that they gave each other, it didn't really work because my brother just could not get past that. He could not get past that, and he had a very active imagination when it came to what actually went on between them. And some small things turned into big things, and some big things turned into huge things, and those huge things ended up resulting in the last light of my brother's life. And on July 31st, 2020, that was the day that my brother took a lethal overdose of prescription medication. The way it went down, my brother was, like I said, he was a father, and he was a damn good father. He was a really good dad because he had not ever really grown up himself. So it was really easy for him to get down on his kids' level and really play with them. So he did that. He was, really good with his kids. He was a very, very good father, and he can ride that all the way with his wings all the way to heaven if that's where he's at. But I'm sorry, this is a hard one. So that last night he was with his kids waiting for his wife to get home, and some time passed and she did not arrive home, and he was worried, and he made a decision to call around, and he could not find her, so he decided to get in his car and go looking. And eventually, the result of that, I think he drove by her parents' house, didn't find her. His one thought immediately was to go by the guy's house. He drove by the guy's house. He found her there. And the story that I was told is that she was getting her stuff. She was not there to date him or see him. She was there getting his stuff, and he confronted her in the driveway. They had a very big argument. He got aggressive to the point where she was scared to be around him. She left. He went home, and he was devastated. He was devastated. And I think any guy or any girl or any kid or anyone out there who found their significant other at another person's house that they already had really big insecurities about, I think anyone would be a little devastated. And my brother was very devastated. He was destroyed. That night destroyed him. And he called my father. And my father went to his house. And at about 7 o'clock at night, my dad arrived at his house and sat on his porch. My brother had a porch, a front porch with a swing on it. And that's where he did his thinking. That's where he did his living. That's where, I've sat on that swing myself. And if you sit on that swing, you could see his brain, how it worked. You could see the different places he made things in his front yard for his kids. You could see where he put his stereo. There was a little mark on the pavement, on the cement where his stereo had gone. You could tell that's where he did a lot of thinking and spent a lot of time on that porch. So he was on that porch swing, and he was rocking and swinging and swinging. And my dad said he was swinging as fast as, he was just going fast and thinking fast and crying hard. And he could not think, and he could not really process what had happened. And my brother, he was devastated. His heart was broken into a billion pieces, just broken. He was broken. My brother was broken. Whether or not the truth of that is irrelevant, all I know is that my brother interpreted that night a specific way, and it broke him. It broke him. And my dad tried to put those pieces back together. He sat on the porch with my brother for 2 hours listening to my brother cry and talk, calm down, and get back to that crazy, get back to those spinning thoughts, get back to that racing self-talk, get back to all of it. And then he would calm down, and then would get back again, and he just went through it up and down, up and down, up and down. And my dad just sat there, and he listened, and he hugged him, and he cried. He listened to my brother cry, and he talked to him, and he told him it was gonna be all right. It was gonna be all right. You just gotta get through it, get through it, get through it. He promised, my brother promised my dad that he would go spend the evening with my mom and him and my dad at their house. And my mom has Parkinson's disease, so she could not get to the house to talk to my brother initially, but my brother had a special relationship with my mom. My brother was the golden child. I'm kind of the black sheep, the tattooed black sheep, but my brother was definitely the golden child. Him and my mom had a very special relationship, and talking to my mom helped him a lot. So the plan was, my dad was going to take the kids that he had. My brother still had his kids. He was going to take his kids back to his back to his wife, and he was going to get in the car and drive home while my brother got in his truck and drove to my mom's and to their house. And he was going to spend the night, and they were going to talk through some more of the problems that were going on and figure out what was next for my kid brother. And so that's what happened. My dad left. He took the kids back to the wife. They had whatever words they had. I don't know. I wasn't there. Wasn't witness to that conversation. I know my father, that it was probably a very unconfrontational, hey, how are you? This is what's going on. And, then my dad got back in his car and he was driving home. He called my brother and he asked him, are you on the way? And my brother told my dad at 9:20 that he was fine, that he had decided he wanted to stay home for the evening, that he had gotten his head wrapped around things and he was going to be okay. And my dad was like, are you sure? I can come back. I can talk to you some more. No. I'm good. So my dad left and he drove home. And, my dad and my mom are a little older, so I'm sure they went to bed early and didn't think anything of it. Well, the next morning, my brother's wife went to his house at about noon. She had a package that my brother had gotten delivered to her house. It was something a little inappropriate. It was actually a bong. And for some reason, my brother got it delivered to her house. So she probably went over there thinking, what in the world are you doing? But he got it delivered. She went over there and she noticed my brother was asleep on the front porch. And that was a little odd to her. And he looked a little off. He looked like he was slumped over a little too much. And he looked a little just not right. So she went and got a neighbor and she said, hey, I need you to come with me. I need you to help me check on my husband. And so they did. And when they approached, they saw that my brother was no longer on this earth. Here, his body was slumped over on the side of a swing, and he had been gone a while. So, excuse me. They called the paramedics. The paramedics declared him dead on the spot. And then they made calls to me, my parents, and we all converged on my brother's house. And when I got there, the police were there and they were trying to figure out what happened. There was a trash can with about 9 bottles of pills that were emptied that had just been filled. There was a little bag of powder that they have not yet been able to identify. My brother was smoking a bong at the time. And basically what happened was, in hindsight and talking to people and talking to everyone that I can talk to, the best I can understand is my brother hung up the phone with my dad and he sat on his bed and he took a lethal overdose of prescription meds. He did whatever drugs he could. He went on his front porch and he waited to leave. And he had a radio out there and he was listening to music. What he was listening to, I don't know. I would love to know that, but no one will ever really know that. There was a big, bright full moon, and my brother just sat there, and he faded. He passed away on that swing. I have a sense, because every Friday night I kind of run through everything that happened, and I have a sense that he passed away around 10:30 to 11 o'clock at night. That's just what I feel when I'm out on the porch of my own. I've gone to that particular porch. I've sat in that swing. I've felt my brother's presence. Every full moon, I sit out and look at it, and it gives me a little bit of comfort to know that there was that big, bright full moon. Because if you think about it, if you're sitting on a swing looking at a big full moon And if your vision and your body and your brain is all starting to fade, your eyes are slowly going to close and you're going to lose focus. But that big bright moon is going to be the last thing that you see. And I love to think that that big bright full moon was the last thing my brother saw before he passed away. And I just really hope, really hope that it was peaceful and that he just faded. I really hope. The way that he was situated on the swing, it did not look like it was a violent passing. It did not look like it was something, it just looked like he just, just let go. He was still holding on, he was still holding on to, his phone was on the ground and he was still holding on to the bong that he had in his hand, and he was slumped over, and that's how he passed away. And that was the end of my brother's life. He was 34 years old, a father of 3, and a loved husband, a loved brother, and a loved son. And he passed away. His official date of death was August 1st, 2020. It's been a little over 3 months since that day. I've seen 3 big bright full moons since that day. The impact on my life is I lost the only person that I knew that could relate to me. He was someone super special to me. I've told in a previous video, but I'll retell it again. When I was 23 years old, I was a very heavy active addict. I was heavy into crystal methamphetamines, and I was using heroin as well. When I was in Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia in Camden, New Jersey, I was at a show, at a Grateful Dead show with my brother and his friends. It was his friend, my brother and his friend. And after the show, I picked a kid up and we went to his house and we did heroin, just me and this other kid. He was kind of a junkie kid, and he took us to this old dark building in this room that, I don't know if it was his apartment. I don't remember much of the night, but basically I took an injection of 2 bags of heroin that night, and I overdosed and died. My heart stopped for 2.5 minutes, and if it wasn't for my courageous, very brave 14-year-old kid brother blowing air into my lungs, filling my lungs with life-saving air, pumping my chest with compressions, pumping the blood through my body with CPR. If it wasn't for my brother and his friend keeping me alive, I would not be here to tell this story to you. My kid brother was my hero because he saved my life. He saved my life, and for that, I wear him around my neck. His ashes, a little bit of his ashes, are in this around my neck, and it stays near my heart. And I keep it near my heart because that's where my brother is. He's always in my heart. I love him to pieces. I will miss him until the day that I die. And I don't really know what else to say. The impact, I've never felt anything as tough as this. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to survive in my life. Even surviving prison was easier than this. Losing someone it's not something that you get back. He's gone forever. The memories will fade. The family will go. There's nothing that can be done. He's just gone. He's just gone, and there's nothing that can be done. So we have to live. We have to keep prospering. We have to go on. His wife, she has to move on and live her life, and I have to move on and live my life. And the one thing that I've been able to do is, when my brother passed away, that's when I founded Until We Meet Again 13. Until We Meet Again 13. That is my way to give back. When my brother left, he walked through a door. He opened a door and walked through it to leave this world. But he left that door open. And I found that door. And it was up to me to walk through that with him or to shut it or to just look at it. I walked through it. I started a community of activists and advocates who cared about prevention, crisis prevention, mental health awareness, and it started with an Instagram page. Instagram, Until We Meet Again 13. Find us right there. It's grown. I have 2 TikTok channels, Until We Meet Again 13 and Every 40 Seconds. Every 40 Seconds is my new campaign that I just started. You will find videos about mental health awareness with statistics and just trying to build a campaign of awareness. And that's what Every 40 Seconds is about. You'll also find several music videos on this particular YouTube channel right there. They're all called Every 40 Seconds, and what I've done is I've picked my favorite EDM songs from Virtual Riot to Skrillex. I've done a bunch of videos, and each one of them has a good EDM song, but it's got more to it. It's got more substance than that. There's skateboarding, dancing, music. Those were the things that made up my brother. That campaign is very important to me. It's brand new. Subscribe, hit the notifications. That's going to give you notifications to new videos that are coming out. There's going to be a ton of new stuff coming. I promise you videos on self-harming, bullying, sexual abuse, surviving these things. I've survived them all. I can help. Get on Instagram right there. Find me, DM me. Let's talk. That's what this is about. Me healing you, you healing me, us fighting together, being a community, being one, hope and healing, recovering, finding a solution to our problems, helping each other get through the bad, the good, the ugly, the super ugly, the bullies, the mean, the cuts, the harming, all of it. We can do it if we stick together, if we ask for help. Please right there, ask for help. Ask for help. Don't sit in silence. Break the silence, end the stigma. We got to be better. We've got to fight. We've got to fight together. So please subscribe, take this video, like it, comment, share it. Share it all over the place. Share it with someone that needs it. There are people out there suffering from a loss of a loved one that need to hear reassuring words. You are not alone. I am going through it too. We can talk about all the things that we lost, all the things that we missed. I can give you a gazillion stories about how I particularly am feeling about my brother's passing. I will happily share them all with you. You just have to find me. You just have to DM me. Use the comments in this video if you want. There's going to be links in the bio to every Survivor Series video I've made. Just enjoy them, share them, give them to the world. This is my gift to my community that I founded and built. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of my brother for giving me the opportunity to do this. I love you all. Thank you for listening. Sorry it took me such a long time to get this out, and I'm sorry that it's so long. But please, I love you. Peace. Have a good evening. For all the survivors, Until We Meet Again 13 thanks you. Please subscribe.